Squid Game, the new web series from Netflix Korea, is the latest sensation in the world of OTT. It has become the first series ever to top charts in all 83 countries where Netflix streams. The show was expected to be seen by more than 82 million subscribers worldwide in its first 28 days. Wow, that is big. But then, Squid Game isn't something entirely groundbreaking as far as its premise is concerned. We have watched stories with similar settings before, of selected desperate underdogs who bet their lives to compete in a winner-takes-it-all series of survival. Whether it was David Fincher's 1997 feature, The Game, or Kinji Fukasaku's 2000 movie, Battle Royale, which has been the predominant inspiration to such stories, or the Hunger Games movies based on the novels by Suzanne Collins. So, what's exactly in there in Squid Game that the world instantly connected to? Perhaps it is the visually stunning production design. Or maybe it's the script that zooms into many of the individual players, thus narrating their thought process in decisions and actions. Or maybe it is the pandemic and our own isolation and struggles in different forms that has made this story so much more relatable to us. For us, however, it was a brilliant screenplay and its detailing which has so many layers to offer. Most of it is not evident in the first viewing, but in successive watches, the Easter eggs reveal and come across as a microcosm of the society we live in. Today, we want to talk to you about all that. This one is not a generic review, and not for ones who are yet to watch the show. We will have heavy spoilers here to celebrate the subtle subtext of Squid Game, which you might have missed. So here we go with our take on 7 distinct ways that Squid Game mimics our society. Well, we won't state the obvious analogies here. Ideas such as dog eat dog is very apparent in the entire show, which doesn't need much explaining. Pitting human beings against each other for entertainment and profit for corporates is also not something that's too subtle in the series, so we'll leave that one as well. Let's come to the first societal theme that isn't so subtle. It is all in front of you. It was always there. Look closely at this shot from Squid Game. Look at the walls of the big room where all the 456 players spent their night. Once most of the players are eliminated and the walls are much more visible, we see that the games that this lot had been playing this far were all painted on the walls. There's red light, green light, honeycomb game, tug of war, and all others. It is so subtle and similar to our society where we continue to ignore or not watch our surroundings closely, whereas there are multiple hints at what lies ahead of us in the future. In the show, we see the players fight each other and unsettle the entire setup of beds in the room, which should have exposed the hints on the walls to them. But like us in life, they ignore and continue to fight to step ahead of each other in the game. The theme might be further emphasized through the character of the player 212, Han Min-yo, who from day one itself should have well realized the nature of jung-jae, player 101. And yet she lets herself to be ditched by him. Squid Game advocates to concentrate on the basics and look closely at the things around us. It's not a coincidence that the games or the show has the elementary geometric motifs of circle, square, and triangle as its icons. You always have a choice in life, but for the weak, all choices might lead to the same place. We see Jihan, player 456. He was presented with a choice of 2 colored envelopes in the train station. He chose blue, and that led him to participate as a player in the games. Maybe, if he would have chosen red, he would have got a call to become one of the red soldiers on the island. But when you think about it, is the situation of the soldiers very different from that of the players? Yes, they do not stand a chance for sudden elimination by death like the players, as they do not stand a chance to win the big money. But going by the kind of life they lead in the island, being constantly monitored, having no choices of their own, and risking their lives overall, they seem to be at the mercy of the front man as much as any of the players. As we see in our society, the victim, the perpetrator, or the guardians of the law are all somewhere pawns of the game in the hands of the corporate. Each of them has their own set of rules limiting the integrity and existence. Also, in one of the best twists of the story, we see the players choose to opt out of the game by majority voting and yet end up coming back to hell. As we say, hardly the choice of the weak matters. The only rule is there are no rules, and definitely no rules for the powerful. Once you realize after the last episode that it was player 001 who was behind all these and rewind back to each of the games, you realize this theme even more. This shot from the first game makes you understand that the doll was programmed to never shoot the old man, irrespective of what he does. No wonder we see him march so confidently in the game. In Tug of War, 001 was well aware of the techniques of the game. And when the violence broke out in the player hall, it was stopped instantly by the guards when 001 rose up and asked the players to stop the violence. Even in the marble game, we initially feel that he was sadly sitting in a corner, thinking there's none to choose him as a partner. But having watched the full show, you feel he might be looking for his way out of the game that way. It is not certain if we would have seen him waiting for the others in the hall if none had chosen him. He could have escaped faking his death, as he eventually did. In the game, he is surprised to have been chosen, and that leads to an instant rule change with the left out person being kept alive. As maybe the organizers did not want to lose a strong player just before the VIPs arrive. But the question is, why did 001 want to leave the game at that point? Because the very next game was something where the authorities were not in full control. Players could kill each other, and it wasn't only an individual deciding each other's fate. And so because Ilnam, player 001, was no more in the show, the authorities allowed players to hurt and kill each other even when the games were ongoing, which was never the rule in the previous rounds. The powerful was always protected, and how many times have we seen that in our society? Societies are born out of fear. Look how the Hall of Players takes the form of 4 pockets after the Tug of War game. Teams that have been formed out of survival instincts. Individuals who helped each other survive another day, trying to get into each other's shelters and shielding against the other groups. Well, isn't that the starting point of most of our civilizations and communities? Societies are born out of fear more than trust or love. Because guess what? Only the next day or the next game, the same people who protected each other as a part of a group will fight for survival among themselves. Exactly as it happens in the marble game. The higher you rise, the bigger is the fall. That's what Uttam Kumar had said in Satyajit Ray's Nayak. And that's what we watch in Squid Game from the contrasting nature of the 2 childhood friends, Jihan and Sang-woo. Both play the same games, both cause elimination of other competitors, but the desperation of Sang-woo, player 218, is of a different level. The way he pushes Ali to his death is simply heinous, and while Jihan apparently tricks Ilnam in the same game, his attitude comes across to be more human. It's also in Jihan's choices ahead of the games or his repentance from time to time. It's simply that in life Sang-woo had achieved much more, and so when crushed under debts, there's more for him to lose. The desperation to win the money at all costs is way more for him, that way which berefts him of all human virtues as the game progresses. A bigger fall from the pedestal of humanity, which is always in direct correspondence to our achievements. Because at the end, Squid Game kind of advocates the idea of philosopher Albert Camus, that if we are living, we must be causing someone's death, and that if we are living luxuriously, the deaths we cause just go up. It is always lonely at the top. Yeah, that's an easy one. That's Ilnam on his deathbed with ample money but no friends. That's the front man in his chamber with none whom he can entirely trust. And that's also Jihan after winning the games, having gained so much of money now, but losing his mother and his innocence in life that helped him to go on in spite of his hardships early in life. You see, money and power enable you to change the rules as you wish, but love and companionship was never bound to the rules anyway. so those charms of life still stand out of the reach of power. Revenge is the purest emotion. A very interesting theme that the show brings in the very last episode, which can lead us to the next season. Jihan sits on a huge bank balance but isn't happy at all. In connecting back to his own daughter or starting new in life with player 67's brother, he can find some purpose in life, and yet he doesn't seem convinced or excited enough. And then the purpose reappears in front of him while he is going to board the plane outside of the country. That's revenge to what has happened to him and so many others like him. It's overwhelming how seeking revenge gets human beings going more than any other emotion in the world. And perhaps that's what season 2 is going to be all about. Those were the 7 themes we wanted to talk about. But there's another one which we simply cannot afford to ignore. It's the theme of hope that Squid Game offers in the last episode. The approach is of course melodramatic, and we really do not know if it mimics our society. It definitely used to, but does it even do now? We hope yes, as Jihan did, and we choose to say yes to all of you. We are not horses, as Jihan mentions in the end frames, who will endlessly run to surpass each other and for corporates to put bets on. The society still has individuals who can stop and come back for the ones who have dropped down on the way. And that's the beauty of our existence and the show, which continues to narrate the sorry state of human beings for 9 long episodes, and then in few minutes of basic humanity reinstates our hope. Yes, we might be causing deaths in our own living, but that we are living also means that we still have some hope. That is all from us today. Let us know if you agree or disagree to our analysis. Thank you for watching.